Welcome back to Horse Sense. I'm your host, Bailey Armour, alongside my co-host and spectacular partner here, Scott Shapiro. And this week, it's all about the Breeders' Cup. This year's edition runs at Del Mar on Friday and Saturday. Now, we're filming this on Halloween on Thursday, so things might get a little bit spooky. Who knows? We've got plenty of races to cover today, as well as some details about the promotions that Xpressbet and FirstBet are running this afternoon. Of course, this year we did something a little bit different. This year we're doing another Exacta-Thon, and that is a $20,000 Exacta-Thon split into $10,000 both days. Here's how it works. You hit 6 or more Exactas, and you can win your share of $7,500. Those Exactas at Del Mar. It doesn't have to be Breeders' Cup races, just any 6 Exactas on one day or the other. Now, if you're the person that hits the most Exactas at Del Mar on Friday or Saturday, you're going to win your share of an extra $2,500 in bonus cash for $10,000 for the whole day. Now, Scott and I have got 6 races picked out on Saturday to talk to you guys about today. Let's get started. Scott, take it away.
Yeah, let's do it. We're going to try to hope either maybe we're going to try to hit the Exacta-Thon between ourselves in this conversation, or probably more of our goal here is to hopefully help others get to that 20,000, help their piece of that $20,000 share of things, or 10,000 on Saturday. But what do you say we start with the race that I know there's no chance in the world this would not be included amongst your 6 Exactas, and that's the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. I'll let you take it away, since nobody loves a 5-furlong dash on the side like you.
Yeah, nobody loves a turf sprint more than I do. And this edition is a pretty good one, if I say so myself. I was really excited going through the PPs and stuff here. Now, of course, headlining this race is what some people have referred to as the world's fastest racehorse, Cogburn, the number 9. This is a horse that can win on or off the lead at 5, 5.5, 6 furlongs. It doesn't matter to him. That's a pace that no other horse can really catch. And he's 9 for 15 lifetime, winning over a couple different, like a variety of track conditions. So no matter what Saturday's forecast is, which last I checked, there was a chance of rain, but it's Southern California, so who really knows? The course surface doesn't really bother me here because I know Cogburn can handle it. So he's my key player and a couple others in this Exacta-Thon here. I'm going to play underneath Cogburn, the number 5 AG Bullet. Now, this is a filly that we talked about when we were doing our Kentucky Downs coverage earlier this late summer, end of August, early September. She comes into the Breeders' Cup off of a 4th place finish in the Grade 1 First Lady at Keeneland at the beginning of October. But there they stretched her out to a mile, and she was leading the whole way. If it had been a sprint race, she would have won. She ended up finishing 4th. They should have, I'm the one that's yelling, stop the race when she's on the lead, because this is a sprinter and you're trying to make her route. And she tried, she really did. And she's a really classy horse, but she's back to her favorite and comfortable distance here today in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, which is why I'm playing her underneath Cogburn. And then alongside underneath, I'm going to throw in the number 11 Big Evs, who won last year's juvenile turf sprint, ships back from across the pond to take on these really, really good horses. He is one of the best sprinters in Europe, but the Euros are only 1 for 16 lifetime in the turf sprint, which is why I'm keying him underneath the Cogburn and then a couple others in this field.
All right. Well, I don't have any desire to really beat Cogburn especially now that he's drawn outside AG Bullet. I think that's big for him in a compact field going 5 furlongs with the rails in at Del Mar. I think, if he would have drawn inside that one, it might have worked out for a little bit more of a challenging trip than he is accustomed to. But, he should be able to play the break. If he's fast enough to outsprint AG Bullet, so be it. If not, Irad will probably just sit second. And to me, I'm not that creative underneath. I think the 2 of the horses exiting the European sprints, which are real tough for me to watch and get a good, figure them out quite like I would a replay here in the States. But Bradsell's the obvious one, 6 for 12, won 2 Grade 1s before running second last out in a Grade 1 at Longchamp. And then Believing, who's run second to Bradsell in back-to-back races. So to me, I'm going to play Cogburn over those 2. I know it's not going to pay a lot, but I got to hit 6 of these, and I don't think they're all going to pay a lot. So I'm going to take what they give me here in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, but I'm not going to take what they give me in this next race. And you might be. I know you're probably will be, and most people will be, but we're talking about the Breeders' Cup Distaff, $2 million on the line, a mile and an eighth on the main track. And this field is obviously led by 4-5 favorite Torpedo Anna, who she hasn't lost this year. It was by a head to Fierceness in the Travers. She hasn't lost to any females this year. You gonna try to beat her or nah?
No, of course not. I'm not going to try to beat her. I have been on the Torpedo Anna train since the Kentucky Oaks, and I'm not getting off now. One of the best fillies that I've ever seen, one of the horses that I've been most excited for over the course of my entire, not just career in racing, but also like fandom, watching racing as a kid. I would not play her as just a solo win bet because of the short price. But she's, like I said, going to be my key in some of these exactas. She's going to be below 4-5 come post time. I mean, you're going to see 3-5, 1-2, something in that. Like it's
And then if you bet, by the time you bet, it'll be
yeah. By the
1-5.
time my bets get in, she's going to be 1-9. So you know,
Right,
the
right.
chalkiest of possible.
Glad I'm not watching that race with you. You'll be nervous.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. She lost nothing in defeat in that Travers to me. I mean, Fierceness was only able to beat her by a head, a neck, whatever. She's proven she can beat the boys, and I don't think there's any other fillies in this field that can take her. For exacta purposes, I'm going to include the number 6, Raging Sea. Really, really nice Chad Brown filly. Deep closer, which I love. It's my personal favorite running style. And then the number 9, Awesome Result, the Japanese undefeated 7-for-7 daughter of Justify, who keeps improving in her time form figures, no matter what her like short to medium layoff is. So that's how I'm taking a look at this one. What about you?
Well, I handed the chalkboard over to you and you took control. So we've got one chalk Scott, one chalk Bailey. I am not chalking it here. I'm going to rely, I think, though, on Awesome Result for the most part with exactas, horizontals. You know, I don't know a lot about this filly, but she's 7-for-7. What I do know is I think this is a very suspect edition of the distaff when it comes to the American-based runners. You know, Raging Sea is going to be up against it from a race shape perspective. Other than that, can't knock her too much, but there's not much speed. And that's why I think everybody's going to get attracted to Torpedo Anna, and understandably so. But I look at this filly and I feel like her campaign is going to catch up with her. I thought it did in the Cotillion when she beat not that much by just a neck. That Travers may have taken a lot out of her. She's capable of rebounding. Obviously, on paper, she's the one to beat. But I don't think being lone speed is going to be enough for her in here. And if she was 3-1, I'd be all in. But I'm going to approach this race with Awesome Result as my key horse and Candied and Raging Sea, who I think, you know, Candied adds the blinkers, has not really lived up to billing for Todd Pletcher. But at 15-1, I think that covers me if Anna gets beat. And then in the exactas, I'm going to key Awesome Result with Raging Sea and Candied. Which sends us back to the lawn, the Jimmy Durante turf course, one of my favorite turf courses in the country, particularly when the temporary rails are not out. Should see a lot of really fun finishes. Not to say we weren't going to see one in the turf sprint, but when they turn for home at Del Mar and they, you know, it really plays like a European turf course in that respect. And we've got plenty of Europeans for this, what I claim to be European turf race. Rebels Romance, the 5-2 favorite for Appleby. There are lots of options in here, specifically if you're not on Rebels Romance, Bailey.
Now, these turf races are ones that I haven't tried to get too cute with. I'm on Rebels Romance. Godolphins, you know, by DeBawi, homebred, home-owned, home-trained, Charlie Appleby, and William Buick. Now, this is a horse that can ship and win all over Europe. Just enters this Breeders' Cup Turf off of her second win in the Prix von Europa at Cologne in Germany for a second time, which she won in 2022. Shipped over here to the Breeders' Cup Turf at Keeneland in 2022 and was a huge deep closer that day and won. Keeps getting better with age. This is a horse that matures nicely, and this is a horse that I'm going to include over the number 6, Farbridge, for Christophe Clement and Joel Rosario, one that we've seen kind of knocking around for a while now, mostly been running on the Northeast circuit with Jose Ortiz, but shockingly has only gone off as the favorite a handful of times. I think he's been a little bit longer priced, more than he has that favorite. Beaten others that we've liked to see over the summer. You know, I follow turf racing pretty closely, so this is a horse that I was excited once I saw him on the entries list, and one that I'll include alongside Rebels Romance.
Well, I don't have a super strong opinion in here. I have two thoughts. One, a European is going to win the race. And two, it's not going to be Rebels Romance. Just Rebels Romance to me does not stand out on any figures I see. When he was over here last year, which obviously wasn't the same horse, I was very much underwhelmed. And he's ran 5 times already this year. So you know, I'm not worried about the post. He can beat me. I just don't think he's a standout when you look at the rest of his continent mates. They're not country mates, but you've got horses like Emily Upjohn, who I'm lukewarm on. I also think she's not quite the same that she's been. I think Shariar at 10-1 makes some sense. I think Ja Reeb is my top pick in there. You've got Luxembourg, who's 12-1 on the morning line, but is much shorter overseas. So that might be something to keep an eye on. Might be able to get some value here in the American pools on that one. And then the 3-year-old Philly Wingspan, I think, is really coming into this race well. 2 seconds, but the last one was a good one at 12-1 to Calpana, who's a serious runner. So to me, I'll be taking on the favorite in there, Bailey on Rebels Romance. So 2 chalks to 1, Bailey leads the way here. I got good money on her winning this, but I am I don't know, I might get a little hairy here.
We'll see.
Oh, I'm missing my race 9. Where is that? Race 8. Oh, I know why. The Breeders' Cup Classic. It's not the last race of the day. We know that, on prime time TV instead, sort of. And this is $7 million on the line. And this is an international fair as well, Bailey. You've got City of Troy, who, you know, if he runs his race on the dirt that he's been running overseas, they're probably running for second. I'll let you tell me, though, if I'm crazy about that. But then you've got the Japanese invaders, Forever Young, Ushba Tesori, Derma Sotogake. And then, of course, you've got the Travers winner, Fierceness, the Never winner, Sierra Leone. Next. This is a star-studded group, at least the best we have to offer. What say you?
Pretty good edition of the Classic. I think some people will say this field is weak or whatever, but there's a lot of different and unique horses in this race that I am looking forward to seeing how it's going to. I think you could run this race 5 times and get 5 different results, just depending on how things shake out on Saturday. I got several horses to talk about here. I am not on the chalk. Not on the City of Troy on top here. With that horse, lots of will he, won't he. Aidan O'Brien keeps saying he's the best horse he's ever trained. His turf track record in Europe, I mean, essentially proves it, but the turf to dirt angle, especially shipping across the pond, not one that I have the utmost confidence in. To give him a pro, though, his most recent, I think there was a gallop from like 2 days ago that everybody was talking about how, you know, sweaty he looked and everything. This is a really big horse with a really big stride angle. I mean, like over 125 degrees stride angle. And this rider has him, you know, cranked up underneath him. His head is almost straight up and down. So they're not letting him get out underneath himself. I don't know if they're saving that for Saturday. I don't know if he's just not holding it together, shipping over or what, but I don't think we've seen a true training, like big effort put out from him yet so far this week at Del Mar. Maybe, you know, maybe today's the day. It's so early over there. I haven't seen anything yet. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. But I will say, just because of the way he's been training in the mornings doesn't completely knock me off him. Lot to talk on if he'll be the post-time favorite. I know that my friends here in Lexington keep saying that he's not going to be. A lot of people in racing that know a lot about gambling say that he's going to be. So I don't know, but I'm not going to play him on top regardless. As far as the Japanese horses go, I might have a different opinion than you, and we'll see. I really like Ushba Tesoro, the number 7. 7-year-old hard knocker, 16 million in lifetime earnings, very strong stint in Dubai this spring. Plus, that comes after winning the Dubai World Cup last year. Freshened up very recently in the Nippon TV High at Funabashi in September. Really successful in Japan over the years, and he finished second in that race. Comes into this one as one that I am probably the most excited to see of the 3 Japanese horses. The other one, Forever Young, in the 1 hole, I think he's going to get squeezed in this field. Has given Japan their best finish to date in this year's Derby, kind of snuck up the rail there. Maybe he can do it again. I don't know. But my best friend Mary is going to be ponying him in the Classic. So I'll have to root for him for sentimental reasons. But there's a lot of ways this one could go. But I think I'm on Ushba Tesoro and Sierra Leone.
All right. Well, let's start out for me with Forever Young, who did not sneak through the inside. I've got to correct you. If he snuck through the inside, I think he would have won the Derby by 3 lengths. Mystic Dan snuck through the inside.
Mystic Dan was on the inside, and he was battling Sierra Leone on the outside. Wide. That's what it was.
Yeah, he was super duper wide. I mean, that's his only loss to his name. I think this horse is special. I really do. First time I really ever followed a 2-year-old and the 3-year-old prospect in Japan as a significant Derby horse, and it turned out to be the right one. I got fortunate with that, but his comeback race was workmanlike. He did what he needed to. His connections seemed very confident. It's his second start of the form cycle. I don't have any problems about the distance, so it's Forever Young for me. City of Troy is a complete guess. If you're playing these exactas, I would not key him, but I would be, if you have a key horse and you're tying him up for $2, maybe include. But to me, when the one thing I'll disagree with is I think this race could go a lot of ways, but we're going to know right away, or we're going to know after it happened, if City of Troy could take to the dirt. If he takes to the dirt, I just think, and many horses don't. You don't see horses that are capable of being the fastest horse in the world on turf and dirt. So I totally get the fade here. I just throw my hands up in the air, and it kind of is disappointing that you have a favorite like that you don't have a strong stand on. But to me, it's Forever Young, and everybody else from a wagering perspective. But I do like Ushba as well. I thought his last race was very forgivable. The fact that he didn't win it. William Barrows was loose on the lead. I thought he put in a good run. But I'm gonna be singling Forever Young, I think, from at least on one of my tickets from a horizontal perspective. And I'm going to tie him up with City of Troy, Ushba, Tesori, and maybe Fierceness. I don't know. I don't think I've ever put Fierceness on one of my tickets before. But
yeah. Okay. Before we move on from the Classic, I want to hear your thoughts on Next in the 14 post.
It's another tough race. This is a tough race. You've got horses coming in that haven't tried the surface. You've got Next. My gut, he's not going to be 8-1, I don't think, because I don't know anybody that likes him. I mean, unless you just look at the PPs and it just looks dominant. But when you look back at the horses he's beating, they are multiple lengths slower than the horses and he's just cruising. Like, we don't really know what to expect because he hasn't been in a battle in so long. But those 1.5 and 1 3/4 races, I've talked about this a lot. They're very hard figures to trust. It doesn't matter if it's DRF, if the buyers, if it's Theragraph, they're all equally, it's just a number that seems to be embellished more often than it's not. So trusting those speed figures. But I mean, what is he going to be? Is he going to sit second or third? Is he going to be able to, there's a lot of questions to answer, but my lean on this horse is to fade him.
I think if he was inside like the 5 post, I would give him a little bit more attention. But I saw someone say that, so the turns at Del Mar are much narrower than, turns at Keeneland, Belmont, Santa Anita, whatever. And that 14 post from where they're breaking is going to put him like right at the outside of the turn. And I just don't think he has enough like immediate gate speed to get over that far from 14 horses.
Let me jump in. If you ever watch the Pacific Classic, they start out of a chute, and they have the whole stretch at Del Mar to get to the first turn. So while it's not ideal, the mile and 16th races are the ones where like horses like Skippy Longstocking and such in the dirt mile, they are going to be the ones that are really compromised. Is it ideal? No, but there is a really long run, multiple furlong run until they get to that first turn in 1.25 miles at Del Mar.
Yeah, the chute is nice. I like the chute. I think this is the only race that they're using the chute for, isn't it?
It's the only. I mean, it's just a very small chute. This is they run it the Pacific Classic, and then if the Breeders' Cup Classic is there, there's not there.
Yeah, we'll see. 14 horses is a lot to overcome, and I think there are earlier, faster horses than him. He's a horse that needs the lead, and I just don't think he's going to get it here.
That is, he's not. I'd be very, very surprised if he's on the lead. So I agree with you there. If that is a concern, I mean, he's probably going to be like 15-1, and I don't think he'll be used on. He certainly won't be on my exactas, but whether I throw him in as a backup, we'll see when all things come to a head on Saturday. But they will come to a head for the fastest sprinters on the dirt in the Breeders' Cup Sprint in race number 10. $2 million on the line in there. And I had a lot of fun handicapping this race. The 3-1 favorite is Federal Judge for Brad Cox, coming off the win in the Phoenix. You've got Mulligan, another Kentucky-based horse, but did his best running at Saratoga in the Forgo this summer. Those are the 2 morning line favorites. But, kind of listening around, I've heard a lot of different opinions around the circles this week. What's your opinion?
My opinion is also not on the favorite here. But first of all, I just want to say everyone's favorite Meatball, Close the Game Sugar, should be running in this race. I think he is a horse of this caliber, and he has beaten horses in this field. That is my only Meatball diatribe, and we don't have to talk about it anymore, but I had to get that in there. Now, speaking of horses that Meatball has beaten, the number 11, Skelly, the Kentucky Invader, 10 for 18 lifetime, an early speed contender alongside the other Kentucky Forgo horse, Mulligan, that you just mentioned. Very much lost the RSTDs to Meatball earlier this summer, but looking to pick up his first one since Derby Day for Steve Asmussen and Ricardo Santana. Not one that I'm going to put on top over others, but one I will include on my tickets here. Also not on the chalk for me. The number 5, Straight No Chaser for Dan Blacker. This is in my racehorse horse. Steps up slightly in class here, but it doesn't turn me off of him. I think he's a really hard knocking, a really gutsy horse that likes to run and likes to sprint and likes to compete. Dan is 37% with horses that have won their last start. So I think he really knows how to pick those spots. It's not a huge sample size, but it's enough to make me, kind of take a second look at that statistic. And he gets Hall of Famer John Velazquez in the irons here to pilot Straight No Chaser. I know that the team that I've spoken to around this horse is really, really keen on him. And he's one that, I'd like to see run and win. So for me, Straight No Chaser, Skelly, and then the number 4, Nakatomi, could sit up just behind that speed duel between the 5, the 11, the 1, the 3. Short price in his recent starts. Wesley Ward is 28% of the time in sprints, but only 2% of the time in graded stakes races. So I don't think that he actually has a huge shot to win, but I would play him underneath some others here.
Well, we're not on the same team in this race, but I'm also not on the chalk in here. But I think the pace in this race is going to be contentious. I think your horses are going to duel each other into defeat. Real quick correction, Straight No Chaser for those taking notes at home, 5-1, the number 8. I think you were saying the 5, seeing the 5-1.
5-1, the number 8.
There's a lot of speed in here. And I've seen Skelly give it up when there's not a lot of speed in races. He is an absolute complete toss to me. Now, Straight No Chaser, same deal. I mean, I think he's had things his way when he's at his best. You've got Raging Torn on the inside, and then Federal Judge, who's the favorite. He's got to go. I mean, heard Brad Cox interviewed. I mean, they're going to be aggressive with this horse who had things all his way with a very favorable setup at Keeneland over a favorable racetrack. I want horses that are going to be coming from off the pace. Now, Mulligan, that's an if. I think he benefited from the outside draw, but he still has Skelly to his outside. If he can relax just off Flavien Prat style, then this horse is going to be tough to beat. I did go to Remake, though, when all was said and done, the Japanese Invader. This horse has really competed with the best there is. He was third in the Dubai Golden Shaheen one year. He was, he's won graded races overseas. And I thought his comeback race off the bench in the Korea Sprint was visually awesome. He's going to settle. He's not, he's going to finish. And we've seen these Japanese runners have a lot of success here. So it's Remake for me. Mulligan, the other horse I'll use on top, and then the underneathers. I'm with you on Nakatomi. I think he's going to be good enough to pick up the pieces, not win the race. And I think Gun Pilot is a little bit interesting. The race to Forgo, Mulligan rode the outside, had a favorable voyage, while this horse was on a dead rail that day and still finished second. So I think the Sprint is one of the more intriguing betting races of the day, and my budget for it will probably show. Race 12. They're going to close it out, 8:25 Eastern, 5:25 local time. The Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, Grade 1, $1 million on the line. We don't have to talk about whether we wish these horses were forced to run in the Breeders' Cup Classic. We'll have that conversation another day. But another race where I see a lot of speed, Bailey.
Definitely a lot of speed here. There's, I think, 3 that I've identified in this race, and this is one very speedy addition. Some of these horses probably could have and should have stepped up to the Classic. Not all of them for sure, but definitely a couple. The number 1, Saudi Crown, one of these early speed types, repeating his appearance from last year when he ran in the Classic and finished 10th behind eventual winner White Abario and Derma Sudagake. Had a successful winner last year, but at Maidan in March, he ran in the Godolphin Mile and they pulled him up and eased him. I don't know if there was an actual injury that came out of that race or not, but I know that he was sidelined for a bit, just looking at his past performances after that one, and then comes back at Ellis Park this summer to wire $150,000 black type race. I don't think this is a horse that belongs in the Classic. I think this is a fast horse. If that Ellis Park start over the summer was anything to tell us, this is the one that I'm going to include alongside maybe some beefier, meatier, better route horses at this distance, but one that intrigues me for sure, especially depending on the price that he goes off at on Saturday. Now, the one that I think is probably going to win is pretty chalky here, the number 10 Muth. Bob Baffert is hard to beat on his home. It's not Santa Anita, but it is Del Mar, so this is his Southern California base. Early speed type, pretty sticky and graded stakes company. Might like those tighter turns here at Del Mar. Baffert and Juan Hernandez, tale as old as time. Was not really a factor in the California Crown last out when we saw that thrilling three-way finish that eventually Substandard came out on top of. But I think that this is a pretty good spot for him instead of a race like the Classic. And then the number 8 Post Time for Brittany Russell with her husband Sheldon riding. I've seen a bunch of the stuff about him on Twitter, and he seems like he's having just the best time ever at Del Mar, hamming it up, really enjoying his morning, training and workouts over these courses. So I would include him alongside the number 9 when his outside domestic product here in the Dirt Mile.
Now you're talking. I'm post time for me. I'm going to post him up. I hope he's having a really good time at about 8:30 Eastern time after he gets some flowers and, a lot of love, because I think this is another race where there's a lot of speed. Saudi Crown, Tio San Denis, full Serrano to the inside. And then you've got the horses on the outside, and this is where I think the draw is going to be key. Skippy Longstocking going to be likely hung out to dry. Pipeline, same. Mufasa, who I'm a big fan of, worried about that as well. But for me, it's Post Time, who people will say is a one-turn horse, and I thought that going into the Whitney, but he's proven that he can compete with the best of the best, the classic-type horses at one turn in the Met Mile, for instance. And then I thought he showed that distance wouldn't be an issue at all. I'm hoping Sheldon Russell is able to navigate the trip of his life here, save ground early, come running late. And I'm going to play that one over domestic product, Mufasa, and Skippy, who I'll take a chance with even with the post. I can't do it with Muth. He was just, I don't know what happened last time. It's one of those deals, though, where I could certainly see the case being made that he ran so bad, something must have happened. And the fact that he's running back now, maybe he's going to be sitting on a bigger effort. But fun way to close it down. And as always, a fun card to go through.
Oh, yeah. I think it'll be a really interesting edition this year. I think I'm probably more looking to Saturday's races, looking forward to Saturday's races more than Friday's races. There's definitely some good juveniles in the card, but I mean, diving into these Saturday races, really, you've got some of these races where you could run, 5 different times and get 5 different winners. We're having a little watch party at my house on Saturday with some of my friends, so can't wait to hopefully hit some Exactas. Obviously, get everybody signed up to bet with Xpressbet. Make sure you check out our blog for all of Scott's opinions on the Breeders' Cup. He's got some analyses posted and some blogs and stuff for some of those multi-race wagers. And if you haven't already checked out the Breeders' Cup wager guide from Xpressbet, now that one is a doozy. That one features picks and analysis from a lot of our staff handicappers here. You've got replays, you've got suggested ticket structures, PPs, promos, everything that you could ever want to have in a Breeders' Cup wager guide is right there in that format. So make sure you check that out, load up your Xpressbet account, opt into the Exacta-Thon, and you could win your share of $10,000 on Breeders' Cup Saturday.